United are kind of in rebuilding mode. They've been linked to two new forwards, which would kind of imply that they're already banking on a Rashford sale. Of course, he's been on a mid-season loan to Aston Villa and has been impressive in there. So what can you tell us is going on at Old Trafford?
The priority for Manchester United, Cara, in this upcoming transfer window is attack. And they are looking at a centre forward and a number 10 as their main focus. They want to get on with it pretty quickly. The finances are in place, as I understand it, to do the deals they would like to do. They do not depend on European football, I'm told, nor on sales to necessitate them. Their main focus for the number 10 position is Matheus Cunha of Wolverhampton Wanderers. He has a £62.5 million release clause. He wants to come, we're told, but personal terms would still need to be agreed, which is not a formality. Let's see if other clubs come in for him as well. But there is optimism at Old Trafford that they can land him. They have alternatives, the likes of Antoine Semenyo at Bournemouth and also Tyler Dibbling at Southampton. But Cunha is the one they are focusing on. It's not close just yet, but I could see this one developing rapidly. In the striker position, it's Cunha Delap of Ipswich Town as their number 1 target. He has a £30 million release clause if Ipswich are relegated. But there are a lot of other suitors for him, including Chelsea. So there's no guarantee that will happen. I think Cunha Delap will decide before the European Under-21 Championships on where he wants to go. If Manchester United are to look at others, I'm assured it will not be Victor Osimhen. Despite reports you might be reading, he is not on the agenda for Manchester United. They will have other options because they might have to turn to them, or they stick with internal solutions such as Erasmus Højlund and they focus on other positions. Those other positions may be dependent more on sales, the likes of Rashford, who you talked about at the top. Aston Villa have a £40 million option to buy him. Let's see if they get into the Champions League and whether they are the proposition that he wants to join and also that they can afford him. I think he could also go elsewhere, of course. He's always liked the idea of somewhere like Spain, Barcelona. We'll have to wait and see. He wants to be in the Champions League. He doesn't want to be in London, we're hearing, and I don't think he has a future at Manchester United. Those funds, on top of perhaps Jadon Sancho going to Chelsea on a permanent basis, Casemiro maybe leaving, Antony, Malacia, let's see what happens with Højlund, moving Eriksen and Lindelof's wages off the bill when they expire in their own terms at the end of the season, could raise a lot of money that Manchester United could reinvest. And I don't think their targets are going to change based on whether they're in Europe or not, or what competition. They're pretty sure in what they want, and they're going to try and do it in a busy summer at Old Trafford. One thing they don't want to have to do is replace Andre Onana if he can prove himself, because a new goalkeeper was not on the agenda. Certainly not a number 1. So let's see if he can turn his form around, stay at Old Trafford and try and provide a bit of stability between the sticks. But there's plenty else that will happen, and we'll keep...
You mentioned that just briefly at the end of that answer, Melissa. What about United's plans for attackers in the summer?
They would like to bring in 2 attackers. Ruben Amorim wants a striker, and he also wants a dynamic number 10 that's versatile. Now, as I've been reporting on Sky Sports News, Matheus Cunha from Wolves, he very much fits the profile of that second role that they're looking for. He is seen as a direct goal threat, somebody who can help United's ball progression with his take-ons. He's got a fieriness that United have lacked. There's a £62.5 million release clause in that contract. Now, there will be competition to trigger that release clause because he is quite a unique player and he fills a gap a lot of clubs have. But he's given United positive indications that he would want to join them. So they're working on what the parameters of a deal could look like there. In terms of the personal terms, we know that his release clause gives United a very clear indication of what his fee would be. Now, in terms of a striker, Cunha Delap is one they like. The technical director, Jason Wilcox, obviously knows him quite well because he signed him for Manchester City's academy. Now, Delap has a £30 million relegation release clause in his contract, which then again gives United a very clear directive of which to work with. But the other alternative up front is Victor Osimhen, who is a lot more experienced, pedigreed. He'd also be a lot more expensive. And I think what United will need to work out is what they genuinely need in front of goal. Is it a guaranteed banker there, which in my opinion is what they require? Or is it a younger player with a high ceiling? And what you can see from their transfer policy so far is they're working really on a dual policy on two sides, the younger side, the more experienced side, and in terms of cost, because we know what they can do this summer will change dramatically if they win the Europa League. But they also have to plan if that doesn't happen to be the conclusion.
Well, we start this hour on Sports Desk with the future of Marcus Rashford. We understand that he wants to play Champions League football next season, but will not be rushed into a decision on his future. For more on this, we're joined by our senior reporter, Melissa Reddy. Melissa, very good afternoon to you. Rashford's future is still undecided as it stands. What can you tell us?
Yeah, Marcus Rashford hasn't had any discussions over his future yet. And he's actually only planning on making a decision around mid-June. We do know, though, that he has some preferences. That is to play for a club with Champions League football. I am told, though, he has no willingness to move to London and to feature for one of the clubs there. And I'm also very strongly told that Rashford has no interest in being involved in any part exchange deal that Manchester United may be considering now. He does have a very good working relationship with Unai Emery. He's quite content at Aston Villa. He's loved how the club have unlocked his game, and he's feeling like he's in love with football again. Villa, as we know, have that £40 million option to sign Rashford permanently, but they've not made a decision over whether they will action that option yet. And the feeling with the Rashford camp is there will be a lot more suitors for him this summer than there was in the winter window. And that actually might work in all parties' favour. It gives Rashford more options to choose from. But if there are more bidders, then United can get a higher fee than that 40 million option that Villa have.
Here's a question, though. Can you see him playing for United next season, or is that just so unlikely?
No, there was a complete breakdown in the relationship between Marcus Rashford and Ruben Amorim. You saw that the head coach didn't appreciate his application or his attitude, and the player just wasn't responding in the way he has under Unai Emery at Aston Villa. So clearly something is not working with Rashford and Manchester United, and the club feel that a fresh environment has worked wonders for him, and the intention is to continue that on a permanent basis. Now, I've spoken to people from both sides of the story, from the United end, from the Rashford end, and the only way I can see him representing his boyhood club competitively again is if Amorim and a lot of the senior executives are no longer at United. Now, we know that's not going to happen in the short term anyway. And United are planning to bring in attackers this summer, and they factored a Rashford sale into that equation. So Rashford planning for a life after United, and they are very much planning for a life after him as well.
Yeah, he's really turned the corner with his performances. He's been playing excellent at Aston Villa. Officially he still is a Manchester United player. So for me, I'd love to see him back and playing that way and that well for Manchester United. And whether that happens, we'll soon find out. But I'd love to see him again at Manchester United.
Do you think there is that way back for him? Because Ruben Amorim talks about him maybe not being able to play the way that Amorim wanted to. So what do you think he can get back into that team? Yeah,
listen, I think it's... I don't necessarily think it's just about his football skills. It might be personal things that, between him and the club that, they fell out with. But, when you fall out, you can always make up. And then hopefully for me that happens.
I mean, they're desperate in that position. You think of what Manchester United are playing now. They've obviously let Jadon Sancho go, they've let Rashford go, they've let Antony go. So 3 players who are obviously natural, more sort of players who travel with the ball. They're playing with Garnacho at the moment, but then they're lopsided. You know, on the other side, they've either got sort of, sometimes it's Xerxes when he was fit, or they've got Bruno Fernandes stepping up one in moments. So it's you know, Mason Mount's come in there, but they need someone who can beat players. They need someone who's equally as good running through the middle with the ball and travelling with the ball as there is maybe sometimes they'll go out wide and support the wing back. So he's a type of player that you could see Manchester United being interested in, that would suit this system that Ruben Amorim wants to play. And like I say, they've lost 3 players who play in that type of position, so they need to fulfil that. You know, they need to fill those roles definitely, or else they're going to struggle. They need to score goals, Manchester United. Ruben Amorim said at the weekend, we're just struggling to score goals. So you need players who can sort of take risks, good in the final third, and Cunha's got a lot of ability.
We've seen a few flashpoints from him, though, this season. Any concerns at all about Cunha the character, if not Cunha the player?
No, to be honest with you, I quite like, I mean, if I was playing against him, I wouldn't like a player with a bit of spirit and a bit of fight. If I was playing with them, I used to play with some unbelievable players, some of the very best in the world at their time, and they had a right sort of, attitude's not the right word, but they had the right spike to them. You know, think about Wayne Rooney, Carlos Tevez, Eric Cantona, you think about Mark Hughes, how tough and sometimes spirited they were in games. And, you know, sometimes they did the unpredictable, sometimes they lost their discipline. But they're amazing players. And I wouldn't, you know, obviously at the time that they get sent off, they know that they've let the team down, but what they give you in return is something special, and I love a player with a character.
Manchester United are planning to sell 3 attackers to fund their intended signings of Matheus Cunha and Liam Delap. The Red Devils have pinpointed Cunha and Delap as key targets to bolster an attack that has only managed a meagre 38 goals in 33 Premier League games this season, resulting in a -8 goal difference. Cunha's representatives have expressed openness to United's interest in the 25-year-old, who could see his 90,000 saved week salary doubled. Delap, 22, fits into United's recruitment strategy, which is to favour younger talents. The impending relegation of Ipswich Town will activate a £30 million release clause in Delap's contract, while Cunha also has a £62.5 million release clause agreed with Wolves in January. United's previous move for Joshua Zirkzee was primarily due to his release clause, allowing his £36.5 million fee to be paid in instalments over 3 years. Under new chief executive Omar Barada, United capped their spending at £60 million for any of their 5 signings last summer. The 20-time English champions are planning to balance out an estimated £92.5 million expense for Cunha and Delap by the planned sales of Marcus Rashford, Jadon Sancho and Antony, all currently out on loan. Aston Villa have the option to make Rashford's move permanent for £40 million. Chelsea are committed to buying Sancho for between £20 million and £25 million, while Antony's value has surged due to his impressive form for Real Betis. United would need to secure at least £32.52 million for Antony to break even under the Premier League's profitability and sustainability rules. The Brazilian winger arrived at Old Trafford for a significant £81.3 million fee last year, committing to a 5-year contract in 2022. Chelsea are reportedly considering paying a penalty fee to bypass a commitment to buy Sancho, who hasn't managed to make his mark with the London side. At 25, Sancho is approaching the end of his contract with United next year, marking this summer as possibly the final opportunity for the club to sell the underperforming player Rashford, aged 27, whose current contract keeps him at United until 2028, was described by an insider last week as never been happier away from United during his time at Villa, according to the Men. On the heels of United's 1-0 loss to Wolves, head coach Ruben Amorim couldn't hide his appreciation for Cunha. Under Wolves' Portuguese coach Vitor Pereira, Cunha has been pivotal in the 3-4-2-1 formation, acting as one of the playmakers. Amorim is on the lookout for a specialist playmaker to fill in behind the striker position, as Bruno Fernandes may permanently shift to central midfield in the upcoming season. This search is partly due to Ahmad being out of action for over 2 months with an ankle injury, despite shining in the number 10 role previously. Cunha's record for discipline, however, might be off-putting for potential suitors. He has collected suspensions totaling 6 matches this season after altercations including a post-match scuffle with an Ipswich security guard and a dismissal at Bournemouth. The Brazil international made his intentions to depart Wolves clear in an interview last month and went on to post an Instagram story stating, "Time to be happy. I will follow my dreams and yours. So stay cool." However, Cunha swiftly removed the post from his account.